Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now. I'm Hina Gambhir. Those were the headlines. And today, our big focus is going to be on what is going to happen in the apex court. Viewers, the debate over faith versus equality is back. In just a few moments from now, Supreme Court will begin its day-to-day hearing on women's right to enter into temples, and the focus, of course, is going to be on Sabarimala temple. Supreme Court is going to hear a batch of 66 review petition against a September 2018 judgment allowing entry of women into the Sabarimala temple in Kerala. So this is the big story that we are getting for you at this point in time. In just a few moments from now, in fact, this big hearing is expected to begin in the top court, and this is going to be extremely critical because Sabarimala is an important issue ahead of elections as well in Kerala. Remember, the voting, of course, in Kerala Assembly elections is also going to happen on Thursday, and ahead of that, this particular issue is very, very important. Those are the visuals that we are getting for you at this point in time. So basically, it is a 9-judge constitution bench that is going to be led by Chief Justice of India, Suryakant. That's going to hear the Sabarimala reference matter from today. It's going to be day-to-day hearing that we are talking about. Let's go across to my colleague Imran, who is joining us live right now for more on this. Imran, it's a big day today. All eyes are going to be on, of course, the hearing and, of course, the observations of the 9-judge constitution bench.
Well, absolutely. It's a big day, not just for, the Sabarimala, but it will have a larger impact on all the places of worship, including, temples, churches and mosques. And it's a question about women's entry into the temple, and it's especially menstruating women. And it just goes to the two major issues of Article 14 and Article 25, right? Equality and right to practice their faith. Whether the religious beliefs which are socially entrenched, which are deeply entrenched, are above the Constitution and the law, and whether access to God is dictated by gender and biology, is very important factors into which the court will look into it. Also, the larger implications of this judgment will be in the law and order issue. We saw last time when the Kerala court had allowed the temple entry, there was the law and order issue. How will the state will fall into this? All this issue will be looked into by the Supreme Court today. And as you rightly pointed out, 2018, the Young India Lawyers Association had filed the petition, and Kerala court had given the positive judgment, saying that they had said allow the entry of women into the temple. But now there were several review petitions which have been filed. Now that review petitions have been come up for court today, and the Supreme Court will start hearing, and the 9-judge bench will hear all these matters. It is a very, very important issue for in Kerala, especially a poll-bound state. In just 2 days from now, where the polling will happen. So all eyes will be on this judgment, and also ahead of the Parliament's crucial debate on women representation in the Parliament, this also hearing is happening. So it has larger ramifications as to not just for one temple, but to across as far as the judicial is concerned, and also religious faiths and practices.
Clearly, so this particular hearing is going to focus on one very important issue, the issue of discrimination against women at religious places. Stay on with us, Imran. In fact, what we are showing to our viewers right now are visuals. One, of course, giving a sense of Sabarimala temple, because it is going to have a significant impact on Sabarimala temple as well. Remember, in 2018, the Supreme Court allowed the entry of women, and then that particular verdict, of course, was challenged, and there are a number of review petitions that were filed, and those are going to be heard by the apex court today. On the other hand, you saw visuals of the live proceedings in the Supreme Court that are in fact going to begin in just a few moments from now. Let's also tell you a little bit about the timeline here. It's extremely important. So 7th of April, which is today, viewers, the day-to-day hearings in this particular case are going to begin. It's a 9-judge bench, 9-judge constitutional bench that's going to be hearing this matter. From 7th to 9th of April, the parties that are supporting the review are going to put across their arguments. Then from 14th to 16th of April, the parties that are opposing the review petition are going to put across their arguments. Then from 21st to 22nd of April, time has been given for rejoinder submission. Then on 22nd of April, the hearing is going to be concluded. So this is the timeline that we are looking at once the day-to-day hearings, begin from today. We have some big news coming in at this point in time. As far as the case is concerned, the Sabarimala issue, Centre has filed written submissions. In fact, what we have learned is that the written submissions were filed late last night around 9:30, and this is the latest update that we are getting for you at this point in time. This is an exclusive information that we are getting for you. Centre has filed written submissions on Supreme Court hearing that's going to begin today. 2 days before Kerala votes, Centre is backing the review petitioner, saying 2018 verdict had several errors. And that's the reason why Centre is now backing the review. Let me go across to my colleague Imran, who continues to be with us at this point in time. So late evening, just hours before the hearing, we can say, Imran, Centre had filed this particular affidavit. Can you tell us a little bit more about it as far as Centre's written submissions are concerned that were filed last night?
Well, absolutely. In fact, some would be, there are sections of people who are very clearly opinionated and divided over this particular issue. Some would say that judiciary should not step into core deeply held religious beliefs and should not disturb the faith of the people who have been coming on for centuries practicing the faith, where some consider Ayyappa to be a celibate, and women of entry is banned in between time to time in the Sabarimala temple, while others say that constitution should step in when the fundamental rights are violated by the practices of a particular community of faith. Now, the Centre has filed a review petition, petition in this case, and Centre says that I read out to you is that it has in overall opposed the entry of women in opposed entry of women into temple. Some would say that the petition is more marked towards as Kerala is a pole-bound state, and it says that the petition said that exclusion of women rooted in unique nature of deity, as Ayyappa is considered as an eternal bachelor, and there is time to time again the temple has banned entry of women into the temple. So keeping in the faith and tradition of the people, the Centre's petition is more geared towards that, and it says that exclusion of women rooted in unique nature of the deity. Lord Ayyappa is a celibate who shuns women, is what the petitioner said, and courts can't decide on faith and belief. This is the point which will be contentious and very, 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 especially on Centre's stance on many other issues concerning women in different faiths, and this will be used by people from other faiths to, some would say, to carry on the practices which are fundamentally against the constitution. Now, as I said, the core of the argument is that whether courts can decide on deeply held religious beliefs and practices of the community, or courts should step in when the fundamental rights of a person, whether of a particular gender, is violated here in this case right now, and when the fundamental rights of Article 14 and 25 are violated, whether courts can step in. Now, the Centre has chosen to go with the faith of the people and said that this is a deeply held religious beliefs, and courts has no stand there on this particular issue.
Some very important points, in fact, were made in this written submission filed by the Centre just hours before the hearing, and like you're telling us, Imran, it has been mentioned clearly that courts can't decide on faith and belief, on matters of faith and belief, and what is essential religious practice, that must be left to be decided by the denomination and not by courts, really. Ayyappa devotees are a separate denomination. So we'll see how the court is really going to look at these particular arguments. Stay on with us, Imran. Now, interestingly, viewers, hours before the scheduled top court hearing, Kerala government also shifted from its previous stance of active support for women's entry to a more neutral position. In a fresh written submission to Supreme Court in March, left government suggested that any decision regarding long-standing temple custom should be made only after wide consultations with religious scholars and social reformers. In simple words, Kerala government has refrained from explicitly supporting the entry of women to the Sabarimala temple. So let's now tell you how left has now literally switched sides as far as this particular issue is concerned. So in 2018, it defended Supreme Court's verdict against the entry ban. Then in 2026, in a way, the left has made a U-turn here, and left has said that, one must consult religious scholars. In 2018, of course, how openly the view was that this particular decision was extremely important, how it championed, how left championed women's entry to Sabarimala. On the other hand, in 2026, it calls for respect for devotee sentiment. So this clearly is a cause of concern as well, because now the left has in a way switched sides. It's made a complete U-turn on this extremely important Sabarimala issue. Let's listen into this reaction that we are getting.
We are supporting women entry. The Supreme Court held basically that any practice which is discriminatory and violative of basic rights of humans, including the right to equality of women, is cannot be claimed as a right to religion. And therefore, any such practice of any religion is unconstitutional, is our stand. And before the 9-judge bench, the reference questions will address all such discriminatory practices, irrespective of the religion.
And viewers, let's tell you a little bit more about Supreme Court's 2018 Sabarimala verdict. The court ruled that tradition cannot override equality, and barring women from worship is unconstitutional, calling such exclusion discriminatory and rooted in patriarchy. The court said faith cannot be used to deny women their fundamental rights. So let's take you through some of the key excerpts of this very important Supreme Court verdict of 2018. Excerpt number 1. Exception on biological aspect is indefensible. So this is what the Supreme Court had observed at that point. This is what the Supreme Court had ruled instead. Dualistic approach degrades women's status. Patriarchy of religion cannot trump faith. Dogma clouding relationship with divine. Then Supreme Court had also said that barring women violates the right to worship. Exclusion can't be an essential practice. So these are some of the excerpts from Supreme Court's order of 2018 on the Sabarimala issue. The left government back then seemed to, in a way support it, called for, wider consultations, but now has in fact made a complete U-turn on this particular issue. It has switched sides. Meanwhile, several issues on which the court has to make a decision that are also very important. How far religious freedom extends and whether it can override other fundamental rights. Now, at the heart of it, balancing individual rights, denominational powers, and defining the limits of faith under constitutional morality. What the court must decide, issues framed by Supreme Court bench for adjudication. Now, this is extremely important. This is something that the Supreme Court is going to be looking at. So, the hearing that's going to begin from today, the day-to-day hearing, it's not going to be just limited to Sabarimala issue. It's going to be a larger issue that the apex court is going to be looking at. Firstly, what's the scope of right to freedom of religion under Article 25? That's issue number 1. And apart from that, how do Article 25, individual religious rights, and Article 26, denominational rights, really interact with each other? And if there is a conflict, then what should be the solution in that case? Third issue that the court is going to be looking at are Article 26 rights subject to other fundamental rights beyond public order, morality, as well as health. Issue number 4, does morality in Articles 25 and 26 include concept of constitutional morality or not? Another issue that the court is going to be looking at is what are the limits of judicial review while examining protected religious practices under Article 25. Then what is the legal definition of sections of Hindus as used in Article 25(2) Part B? Then can an outsider or a non-member really challenge a specific religious practice through a PIL? And Arpita, my colleague, is now joining us live right now for more on this. Arpita, so it's a larger issue that the Supreme Court is going to be looking at, and that's why the entire country is going to keep a close eye on what comes out of the Supreme Court. But as far as the Sabarimala issue is concerned, from where this whole battle really started, we have seen the left really switching sides. Can you explain to us what prompted that?
Well, Hina, in 2018, state government was of the opinion that they should be, women of all age should be given entry in Sabarimala. They were in support of the Supreme Court verdict. And later, just few days before elections, they came up with a view that devotee sentiments should not be hurt, and therefore they believe that a group of religious scholars should decide on this matter. They are the ones who are the right one to decide what is correct and what is not. And when we asked the Chief Minister about this decision, about taking a U-turn suddenly just before the assembly election, he said that CPM in 2006, 20 years back, had taken the stand that they were of the opinion that a religious group should be formed, religious scholar group should be formed, and they should be the ones taking decision in this matter.
Right.
But in 2018, because the Supreme Court had given the verdict that women of all age should be given entry, as a state government, it was their responsibility to respect the decision of Supreme Court, and that is why they were in support of that decision. But since the beginning, they were of the opinion that a group of scholars should be formed to take a decision on the same.
Thank you very much, Arpita, as well as Imran. Appreciate both of you for the moment, for joining us with your inputs. We will slip into a very short break right now. We'll be back with lots more. Stay with us.